Ismaila Sarr gave Crystal Palace their first win in 13 games, as well as the M23 bragging rights to turn up the heat on Brighton boss Fabian Hurzeler after a toothless performance by the home side. The Germans' second-half substitutions were greeted by chants of "You don't know what you're doing" by the Brighton fans, who grew increasingly angry in the dying minutes. Sign up for the football newsletter. Thank you. Ismaila Sarr fires Crystal Palace into the leadCredit, AFP. Sarr, 27, celebrates his crucial strikeCredit. Getty. A chorus of boos and cries of "sacked in the morning" rang around the Amex Stadium at the final whistle, as a season that promised a tilt at European qualification now threatens to descend into a fight against relegation. Since November, Hurzeler's side have now managed just one win in 12 Premier League games, and that was at home to basement strugglers Burnley. With West Ham suddenly looking capable of mounting a charge to lift themselves out of the relegation places, Brighton are now only 8 points above the London side. Worse still, they seem to have lost the ability to create chances. Read more in Football. Palace keeper Dean Henderson enjoyed a largely untroubled afternoon and only had to dash off his line once to block a Karalampos shot shortly after Sarr had given the visitors a 61st-minute lead. The Senegal striker's goal was set up by one of Palace's deadline day signings, but it wasn't £48 million forward Jørgen Strand Larsen. Instead, unheralded Evan Gesand, who arrived on loan from Aston Villa, was thrown on by Palace boss Oliver Glasner and responded by setting Sarr free to score the goal which lifted them above their hosts. Palace's recent fall from grace has drawn its own headlines, with Glasner's critical comments towards the club, the sale of captain Mark Guéhi, and a dismal run of form. Most read in Football. Best free bets and betting sign-up offers. This was the answer that Glasner and his team craved. Coming in a game of such bitter rivalry made it all the sweeter. Their relief at a long-overdue victory was almost made even more memorable in injury time when Strand Larsen was denied a debut goal by the legs of homekeeper Bart Verbruggen. The Norwegian was seen as a panic buy by some, especially with such a hefty price, but he fitted well into his new side. At least he didn't feel odd in his new shirt, given that Palace were wearing their faded gold away kit, just a couple of shades down on the paint chart from the old gold he wore at Wolves. The opening 15 minutes flashed by in predictably frantic fashion. Maxence Lacroix hacked one early corner behind for another which Lewis Dunk headed high over the bar. The Brighton skipper went closer with his next opportunity. Will Hughes was booked for scything down Jorginho Rutter, just as the ball had run free to Howell on the edge of the Palace area. Pascal Gross took the free kick, which was glanced wide by the head of Lewis Dunk. As space began to open, so the Palace midfield duo of Hughes and Adam Wharton started to take advantage. Strand Larsen runs in behind less than Jean-Philippe Mateta, so Glasner had Sarr and Yeremy Pino running beyond the Brighton defence instead. Clear-cut opportunities were proving scarce at both ends. On the half-hour, Maxim de Kuiper slashed at a loose ball in the visitors' area but couldn't force his shot through the forest of Palace legs. Wharton took the aerial route with his effort 2 minutes later, but only found the bank of Palace fans behind the home goal. Glasner's side looked the more likely to break the deadlock as the interval approached. Sarr had a clear sight of the Brighton goal, until Dunk pressurized him into slicing wide. The Senegal striker made no mistake just the hour when a low-key start to the second period gave way to unconfined joy in the away end. The Brighton defence was nowhere to be seen when Gesand, brought on 5 minutes earlier by Glasner, gave Sarr a free run on the home goal. Sarr's finish was crisp and true. Brighton almost responded immediately when a rudder pass flicked off Lacroix into the path of Costulas, but his shot was saved by the legs of Henderson. After that, the discontent with Hurzeler that had simmered in recent weeks took full hold. Even his decision to give a first Premier League start to 17-year-old Harry Howell didn't appease the home fans. Recommended stories. Veteran James Milner, who made his debut in November 2002, 5.5 years before Howell was even born, was left on the bench, so he will have to wait to equal Gareth Barry's Premier League appearance record of 653 games. Hurzeler will be grateful that Brighton's next 3 games are away from the Amex. Well, he might be, until he sees that they involve visits to Aston Villa, Liverpool and Brentford. Comments.